Certainly, incorporating these elements will deepen the understanding of the principles we are discussing, while also exploring the psychological and neurological implications of lies and their impact on reality perception. Here's the revised and expanded monologue. Monologue, the tree of truth and the roots of our being. Imagine, if you will, that your mind is like a grand ancient tree, standing tall, its branches reaching out toward the sky in all directions. This tree is not just any tree. It is your neurology, your very consciousness, with its roots buried deep in the soil of fundamental principles. These roots are not merely symbolic. They are the neural connections that form the bedrock of your understanding of the world, the truths you hold dear, the reality you perceive. But what are these principles that anchor our minds, that allow our understanding to grow and flourish? These principles are the very essence of life itself. Genetic predispositions, evolved over millennia, embedded in our biological structure by our ancestors. They are the first principles of life, the foundational truths that have been passed down through generations, encoded in our DNA, shaping not only who we are, but how we perceive and interact with the world around us. The mechanism of truth. To understand how these principles manifest in our neurology, think about a church, a beautiful, timeless structure that you pass by every day. This church is not just a building. It is a fixture in your reality, a consistent, unwavering part of your world. Every time you pass by it, the light reflecting off its walls enters your eyes, and your brain captures this image. Each reflection reinforces the neural pathways in your brain that recognize and understand this church. Over time, this process builds robust neurological structures, biological representations of this truth. The church exists, and your brain has faithfully recorded its presence, constructing a detailed map in your mind. This is the mechanism of truth. When you observe reality, the vibrations of the world, light, sound, touch, enter your senses and are translated into electrical signals. These signals create images, sounds, and sensations in your neural field, building biological structures that reflect the external world. The more you observe, the more these structures are reinforced. Truth, in this sense, is not just an abstract concept. It is a physical entity, a literal reflection of the world within your brain. It is the embodiment of those genetic principles, guiding your perception and cognition in alignment with reality. The destruction of lies. But now imagine something different. Imagine that the church is not there at all. The space where it should stand is empty, yet you convince yourself that the church is there. Every time you pass by this spot, you tell yourself the church exists, even though reality says otherwise. What happens in your brain when you perpetuate this lie? At first, your brain tries to reconcile this false belief with the reality it perceives. But each time you pass by and see nothing, the lie you've told yourself begins to decay. The neural structures that would have been reinforced by the truth are instead destabilized. There is no light reflecting off the church walls, no sensory input to solidify the neural pathways. The world, reality, actively fights against this false belief, reorganizing your brain to align with the truth. The lie crumbles because there is nothing in the external world to support it, nothing to anchor it in your mind's architecture. Living in a lie is not just about deceiving others, it is about deceiving yourself. When you persist in lies, you begin to give priority to the part of your brain responsible for imagination. Over time, if you continue down this path, your brain starts to blur the lines between reality and fantasy. The neural signatures that should align with the real world begin to align with imagined scenarios. This is the gateway to madness, a state where the brain prioritizes imagination over reality, leading to a profound disconnection from the world as it truly is. Lies are not just false statements, they are a corrosion of the neural architecture, a dismantling of the very structures that allow you to perceive and engage with reality. The psychological toll and the madness of lies. This is not merely a philosophical issue, it's a biological one. The more you lie, the more your brain must expend energy to sustain these false neural connections, which are inherently unstable. You become trapped in a cycle where the brain, desperate to reconcile the contradictions, becomes more disoriented, leading to stress, anxiety, and ultimately a breakdown in mental health. The brain's natural alignment with truth is compromised, and what was once a strong, coherent network of truth-based neural connections becomes a chaotic, fragmented mess. But why do we lie? Why do we engage in this self-destructive behavior? We lie for many reasons: to get ahead, to present a false image of ourselves, to hide our flaws or perversions that bring temporary emotional compensation or ecstasy. Sometimes we lie to defend another lie, and before we know it, we are caught in a web of deceit that spirals out of control. Lying creates a cycle that can feel impossible to break. Once you start, each lie begets another. Each falsehood demands more deception to sustain it. You become trapped in a loop, justifying each new lie with the ones that came before. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. And the irony is that the very problem that haunts you, the disconnection, the confusion, the stress, is a product of your own making. You look down at your feet, unaware that you are the one sawing off the branch on which you sit. And all you need to do to stop the cycle is to stop lying, to realign yourself with the truth. A call to honor the truth. Understanding this, we must recognize the importance of these principles, the genetic, biological, and psychological truths that are the foundation of our being. Protect them, nurture them, and let them grow deep and strong. When you honor the truth, you are not just living a morally sound life. You are building a mind that reflects the world in all its complexity and beauty. Your neural structures, like the branches of a tree, will reach out ever further, supported by the deep roots of truth that anchor you to reality. In a world increasingly dominated by superficial pleasures and fleeting distractions, remember this: your brain is a mirror of the world. It reflects the truth, and in doing so, it builds the very structure of your mind. By living in alignment with these truths, you ensure that your mind remains strong, coherent, and resilient, capable of withstanding the storms of life. Every time you choose to live by the truth, you are reinforcing the very fabric of your brain, nurturing the tree of your mind. Let this tree grow tall, let its branches reach the heavens, and let its roots dig deep into the soil of reality. For in doing so, you create a life that is not only rich and fulfilling, but one that is truly grounded in the reality of the world. A life where every branch, every leaf, and every thought reflects the truth. And that, I believe, is a life worth living.